own experiences and sort of enlighten our audience in terms of the importance
Yes.
of children, well, those who are not literate,
Yes.
the importance of them becoming literate.
Yes, sir. Dr. Haney, I would say I've lived with what I call a constant Q&A system, constantly questioning myself, asking myself questions. I remember when I was in school in the junior college, I started off in junior college, and I used to question myself as to why I could only write so much on a page and things of this nature. What was going on there? But question was coming to my mind about things that were in my memory that I had not investigated, and questions about my existence. Why was I here? Why did my mother and father have me, or what brought them together? And my mother told me that she was suffering from malnutrition when she was carrying me. And she also let me know that I was unwanted. She had lost a son before me, so I was basically had to help my father get over the son that he lost. And so after hearing both sides of the story, I sided with my mother, which had made me sensitive to women concerns. And I used to tell my mother, because she suffered from malnutrition, that I said, whatever you can recall when you were pregnant with me that you can share with me, I said, that would help me function better in America, you know. And that is one of the things that she used to do. A lot of times I would do it when we would sit down to breakfast. I would ask her if there was anything that she remembered, you know. And so these were things that I would do. And I've had some very unusual experiences here, but relying heavily on the mother. And I also have often thought that we have behavior in terms of me suffering, my mother suffering from malnutrition, and how it affected me. I offered my experiences to the Tennessee State and Johns Hopkins University, where they're doing something in the area of neuroscience and how math and things like that affect a child growing up, according to how the mother's diet was and things like that. I felt I had experiences in here to help. And also I have been one to believe that no matter what language you spoke, the better you can get an understanding of yourself, I felt it would automatically affect your ability to speak. And in areas where people are not speaking correctly, to me, they have not learned how to say what it is they need to talk about because they have not found out what that is themselves. And you can't even tell yourself who you are if you don't know who you are, you know. And so all of these things, you know, coming together. Also, one of the things that come to my mind that I heard when I got to Nashville, and that was Dr. Reeves Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell said that one of his quotes was that the Negro has not been educated till you educate him in his music. So Dr. Haney right there brings a lot together for me to say, because in the area of music, if he had not been educated until you educate him in his music, I think about the ways we have used our music. You know, and I think about what Dr. W.E. Du Bois said, that the old spirituals are the greatest gift that the Negro has given to America, and also the most neglected. And I believe that if we're going to deal with this particular area, I think that it even should be what I call a Du Bois tax, a tax on all of those who have made it big in the music industry that are people of color. I think that they owe something to our orphans, we owe something to our seniors, the elderly, those who are suffering from dementia. You know, all of these things have been affected. So a couple of elderly people telling me the other day how they are witnessing their church being taken over because of the miseducation in the area of the music, you know. And so all of these things are coming together. And then there's one other biggie, I call it, May 17, 1954. That should have been our first National Education Day. A lot of people don't know that. And in the book, Christian Activism, I think it's on page 789 and 790 or something like that, it speaks how May 17 should have been our first national education holiday. This was the coming together of Brown versus the Board of Education. That's right. And the National Baptist Convention and the NAACP was working on that, and they had come together, and Dr. Duke, who was Duke McCall, was the president of Southern University, the seminary. He was one who said that he had never heard such a great idea of bringing together to make that a national education holiday. And Dr. Duke McCall just passed away here, I think, about a year and a half ago. He was in Florida, and I didn't even know, you know, he was still alive. I try to connect with those who are like in their 90s and above, because they can give you a 3-year, 30-year period of the state of things that are going on, you know. And so it is things like this, and I think basically I have mainly educated myself, you know, through quotes and things of that nature, quotes that speak to now. One I remember at the Johns Hopkins Business School, it say, know the past, understand the present, and anticipate the future. And then there is 1955, Dr. Haney, where a lot of people went into the civil rights movement. And see, this is another area of education. When I first heard the voice of Dr. MLK Jr. in the early 60s, I said, this man's life is going to be in the way of me growing up. Now, that's surprising for a lot of people to hear. That was in the early 60s. So what I did, I avoided his speeches. I did not listen to his speeches. A lot of people don't believe that. But I didn't. I chose not to educate myself in becoming. I feel that I didn't have to become who he was. I was already someone within myself. And my great-grandfather was a full-blood Choctaw Indian. And he told my mother to always keep me in school because there was something in me. And that has been a motivator for me when I lived in different cities to go to the universities, take in the lectures and listen and question and things of that nature, you know. And so this is just a lot of things that I believe and have experienced.
Over the last 3 minutes here,
Yes.
we have researcher.
Yes.
What would you say to mothers or parents this morning who find themselves faced with the possibility of dealing with their children who are not reading up to capacity or whatever the situation? What can they do?
Well, I would share with the mothers, as I tell the mothers in my family, I said, the more you could share with your children about what you remember when you were carrying them, the more they will be able to function better in this society. You know, and I believe that. And even Dr. Haney, sometimes when the police stop me or something, I try to answer all the police questions before they ask me anything, drop my bag and everything. And then I'll tell them, officer, I'm trying to learn how to live in America and adjust to this changing world. Is there anything you could say to help me, you know? And the last part is this, Dr. Haney. When I was in Atlanta, I met a man who, I didn't know what supply and demand was. And I met a man who knew, I told him that I had discovered it through the definition of the late J. Paul Getty. And he said, find something that is hard to get, that is hard to find, that people have a great need for, package it, and the rest is history. And at this time, I had written my book, Unrefined Thoughts for Thinking for Learning. And he told me, he said that a Getty type of man comes along every century because there's something that the world is in need of, that their life is to bring. And that has been one of the motivating sources for me also to make that connection. And I believe in using the birthday. Like I recently discovered that the first issue of Forbes magazine, I share a birthday with that. And the Welch School over here, which is for sale, I share a birthday with the Welch School. And I would love to have that school, if in some way possible, to apply the vision that the Lord has given me, you know, to help make America a safe and sound place, you know. These are the things I say because it's all connected. And last, Dr. Haney, I've been emailing President Obama about creating a good customer service department in the American government. Because the late CEO